We have confirmation of Misfits 19. It seems to be the prime card V2. Shakur Stevenson calls out Deen the Great.
If you're gonna seriously ask me about this fight, I would say fuck no. Why would we fucking make that fight?
Deji now, the mentality he has now would beat Wasabi. I've always wanted him to fight Wasabi to get redemption, because I know he can beat him.
Salt Papi versus King Kenny. Mams has now mentioned it on a Fred Beck interview. Can we get some confirmation of what's going on there?
I guess it's gonna be Salt Papi, and we're just gonna have to pepper him.
If that fight's made tomorrow, who am I picking?
What the hell is this? This would have been the easiest money. If he had to fight all three of them, he would have knocked every single one of them out.
Hello and welcome back to Misfits News. I'm your host, Ben the Bane Davis, as always joined by my co-host, BL. The world of boxing has truly been shaken up this weekend. Some incredible results and some exclusives that we cannot wait to go over. But before we get into all of it, BL, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. I'm loving the new look, and what a weekend of boxing we just had. But before we get into all of that, let me give you a rundown of today's topics. We have confirmation of Misfits 19. Shakur Stevenson calls out Deen the Great. And to analyze this weekend's fight, we have Daley Perales in the Misfits News booth.
I always love when Daley makes time for us, and what a great chat it was. But let's kick things off by updating the fans on the next X Series card. So we were informed that there was supposed to be an event in Miami in October. That was going to be on October 19th. It was, I believe, a pay-per-view. It was planned to be this big event. But now we'll be finishing the year with the highly anticipated super card in Qatar in November. So BL, October 19th, off the table.
It's sad to see Miami won't be happening because we had such a fun time last time, Ben, and I was really looking forward to it. However, we're going to have a little break and then come with an absolute supercard, as you just said, and some big names are rumored to be on there. We have the names such as Slim and Gibb main event, King Kenny and Salt Papi, rumors of Joey Essex, and the lightweight tournament finals. And of course, to finish things off, Jay Swingler versus my lookalike, Nick Lamau. What a card it's looking to be, Ben. It seems to be the prime card V2 potentially.
And that's not even including Deji, who, again, people are saying is going to be slapped onto that card. And who knows what else Mams has in store. I know that we've been riding the HS Tiki-Taki train that Mams is the firm
GOAT.
conductor of. Yeah, so I'd have a hard time believing that they wouldn't move mountains to get HS on this big supercard to further his own stardom and place within the scene. And KSI now says that he'll be there, obviously in attendance, commentating, maybe performing. BL, what do we think? I mean, I don't know.
So.
I don't know if he's going to be able to outdo the Bad Boy Chiller Club.
Whoa, the Bad Boy Chiller crew. Do not throw shade at their name. What an incredible performance that was. And
what
even the Liam Gallagher
fucking group, dude. Oh, jeez.
But if he's on comms with you, Ben, I cannot wait to see that because he really brings the energy. And you guys on commentary, I mean, what a duo that is.
Oh, it's fantastic. The Bane and KSI commentating team with True Geordie or Riley Osborne included is it's a sweet science. But that's just one thing. I think there's some other big fights, BL.
Well, another big fight I would love to see, and possibly not on this card, but later on down the line, is Shakur Stevenson versus our very own Deen the Great. On our last episode of Misfits News with KSI, KSI said Deen the Great stands a chance with someone like Shakur Stevenson. Well, Shakur Stevenson had something to say, and he said KSI is talking some bullshit.
Yeah, man. I mean, I maybe should have offered this pushback while we were filming with KSI, but and I love Deen the Great. I need Deen to know this. I am not coming at him. I am not criticizing him. I truly, truly hope he doesn't take this the wrong way. But I don't think that fight should be made for very obvious reasons. Shakur Stevenson is a champ of the highest order, is one of the best boxers in the world right now. With respect to Deen the Great, there are levels, and we are in a bubble, and he is operating in a platform that is, I would say, on a technical level, on a boxing versus boxing level below Shakur Stevenson. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the reality of the position we're in. So, you know, and I know Deen loves to chat to these pros and get these types of engagements and controversy and stir the pot, which he does a great job of. But if you're going to seriously ask me about this fight, I would say fuck no. Why would we fucking make that fight?
It's a really tough fight, and especially, as you say, the levels are completely different. For me right now, we just need to keep building that Deen persona, that Deen character. He has had some fantastic fights, and I mean, that pull counter right hand. You can never write him off in a fight, but when you put him against someone like Shakur Stevenson that has had so many years of experience, is it likely to happen? I doubt it, but I love that the fact that it's talked about. I love the fact that there's even engagement and they're going back and forth because it just brings eyeballs to Misfits boxing.
For sure. And that's the beauty of Deen the Great, is he can get under these people's skin and be involved in these conversations. But again, I want to remind people, who is Shakur fighting? Best in the world. Deen was fighting someone who was making his boxing debut after years of mixed martial arts experience, and, you know, again, most notably being Conor McGregor's cameraman. There is a difference.
He was
here.
back. He was Conor McGregor's cameraman the other day again. He's been sent back to the
Dave already. No, don't say sent back. Don't say sent back. Win, lose, or draw.
That's
Dave would have fucking been there. Dave would have been there for Conor, capturing all these moments. Don't say he was sent back. He was planning on it even before the fight. No, but I like Deen the Great, and I think that within time he can be selective and maybe get some of these massive shots. I do believe that's possible. But gun to my head, if that fight's made tomorrow, who am I picking? Deen might not like the answer. And you're picking Deen. Deen, I love you. Deen, I love you. I would say this, you know, obviously, but it's. Come on, man.
Ben, you know who I'm picking? You know who I'm picking in that fight? Narij Goyat. That is the winner of that fight. That's how we find but I like that argument.
We have mentioned him in more Misfits news episodes than we haven't, I think, at this point, which is beautiful. But talk about other beautiful things. There's rumors of Deji and King Kenny making returns on the super card. So we thought it was only right if Daley Perales comes into the Misfits news booth and sets things straight. With the world of boxing having a shakeup over the weekend, we thought it was only right to get one of the best coaches and analysts in the scene, Daley Perales, here in the booth to give us his insights. Daley, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic, man. Let's kick it off with the obvious. AJ versus Dubois. Joshua was the big favorite heading into this, but kind of got outclassed and given a boxing lesson. What was your immediate fight reaction yesterday?
Just wow. Just wow. I was on the edge of my seat. That's what heavyweight's all about. That's what I love about heavyweight boxing, that anything can happen. One punch was all it takes. And I was someone that actually, before the fight, I couldn't understand why everyone was saying AJ is the favorite. I mean, based on his resume and what he's done, yes. But if you go on recent times, I actually thought Dubois had the better preparation going into this fight, fighting Usyk, Hrgovic, Baby Miller, whereas Joshua, he fought Helenius, he fought Ngannou's never had a boxing fight. For me, Joshua didn't have the best preparation to go in against a young, hungry fighter that wants to hold on to his IBF world title.
Anthony Joshua will always be considered a legend in my eyes, but I want to switch gears back to the Misfits world. Yep. We saw you last week in Newcastle and a KO by Kelz after being in his corner for a short period of time. What was that moment like in ringside when you saw the tables turn, you saw Kelz bring out a fantastic right hand?
Well, none of my fighters have ever tasted the canvas, so it was a new experience for me. And I think as a coach, it really tests yourself as a coach when you can go through different adversities when it comes to fight. But in this instance, it was about making sure Kelz can get back to the corner after that knockdown, just so he can brush it off and I can tell him, you know, exactly what I want for him and for him to stick to the game plan of what I wanted him to do going into the fight. It was about removing that mistake and getting back to what I wanted him to do, which is what we talked about going into the fight.
I definitely think in this scene, it was one of the more spectacular knockouts we've seen in the heavyweight division. So I'll ask you the question, Daley. What is next for Kelz? Who would you like to see him face next? Is it a Chase Demore potentially?
I'm not sure, man, because the heavyweights is not as stacked as the other divisions, I'm gathering. Yeah. So it's not like you can really pick and choose and be too picky. I'm not sure. Maybe what's his name? Arms
Corleone. You want to see a return of the juice box?
Yeah, the 34-to-1 testosterone ratio might keep Arms on the shelf. For sure, Kelz will have some fun opponents next. We do want to talk about another name that's in your stable, though, and that's Deji. Now, we saw you doing some work with him at the Camden Boxing Club. Talk to us about the shape that he's currently in.
Actually, I was surprised by his cardio, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. yeah, I think he's in a good place, like physically and mentally. So if he was to fight, to drop the pounds is going to be easy. He's not as high as he was when we were fighting before. So yeah, he's in a good place. Yeah, like I do with Kenny and Deji, with all the influencers, it's just about, you know, getting them to understand the sport more and more and more, and being in the gym. It's so important to try and be in the gym when you haven't got a fight, because that's where all the learning is done. When you've got a date for a fight and you haven't been in the gym learning, and then it's all about that date and getting them ready for that date. So it's more about game plan rather than teaching. Do you understand? So, but yeah, he's in a good place, man.
If you were to compare the Deji that you've been working with recently, right? And granted, they're still getting some rust off of him, but if you compare that version today to the guy that you had worked with previously, what would you say are the differences outside of cardio?
Just his mentality, you know. And I remember when he first came to me, I'm not gonna lie, it's like he was a broken person, not just boxing wise, but just mentally. I think he didn't trust a lot of people as well. He was low on confidence when it come to his cardio, when it come to, you know, his level of boxing. Yeah, I remember it was really bad in the beginning, you know, when it come to everything to do with training. And not because he didn't want to do it. I just think he was just mentally not there, you know. And I think he just needed someone to look at him not as a famous person, and look at him as more of as a human being, and, you know, treat him like, listen, I'm here for you. I've got your back. Life is bigger than boxing. And that's it. Just making sure he's got someone that he can trust, that has his back, that he can come to me not only for boxing, but he can come to me if he has problems outside the ring as well. So, because I think that's very important. If you've got a coach like that understands you, that's got your back like that, then it helps you to progress them better in boxing. So I think that's been the big change, is like the mental side. The boxing side, for me, teaching in boxing is the easy part. The mental side is the hardest part.
I love it. Well, last one on Deji. There's some rumors of him potentially competing in Qatar. Now, there is some suggesting it's going to be a rematch against Wasabi. But are there other names that maybe you'd like to see him against?
I mean, Wasabi would be good, whether that's this year, whether that's next year. Deji now, the mentality he has now, would beat Wasabi, in my opinion. And I like Wasabi as a person. You know, he's a cool guy. But I'm just saying, like, this Deji now, his mentality, I reckon he'll beat Wasabi. So I've always wanted him to fight Wasabi to get a redemption, because I know he can beat him. Other people, I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. He's been out of the ring a long time as well. So that's what people have to consider as well. He's been out of the ring a long time. I think a perfect scenario would be to go in there with someone, if he was to fight this year, to go in with someone that's competitive, with the aim of having a much bigger fight next year.
Am I hearing correctly here, Daley, by saying there's been possibly some conversations had with the promotion to possibly have Deji on the Qatar event then with a bigger name?
You know what? Everything's early stages at the moment, because, well, Deji's in the gym, he's training. Mams obviously has been talking to me about the Qatar show, but everything's all, what shall we do? Shall we do this? Shall we do that? So nothing's concrete yet. My job right now is to make sure, once things are cemented, that Deji's in shape and ready to go.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing Deji hopefully later this year. But you mentioned concrete. I'm mentioning one of the fights that's nearly concrete. Salt Papi versus King Kenny. Mams has now mentioned it on a Fred Beck interview. Can we get some confirmation of what's going on there? And is King Kenny preparing for this fight right now?
Well, Mams is the boss. And if he says it's Salt Papi, then I guess it's going to be Salt Papi, and we're just going to have to pepper him.
What is your assessment of Salt Papi? Obviously, a big comeback over Amadeus Ferrari, but before that, it was the stinging defeat to Slim, in which some would say we got to see some weaknesses from the Filipino superstar. As a coach and analyst, break him down for me.
Obviously, it's going to sound biased because King Kenny is my younger brother, but I truly try to educate people in this scene through my honest opinion. And my honest opinion, when it comes out, I always said, like, Kenny's had the toughest fights out of the two, right? So, like, for example, FaZe Temper, 6 foot, God knows how tall, 6'5", southpaw. We didn't have no footage on him. It was Kenny's first fight. Second fight was FaZe Sensei. Now, I don't know the scene as much as you guys, but I heard that a lot of people avoided FaZe Sensei because of his experience that he has, and Kenny fought him. You know, Ashley Raksu, what people have to remember about Ashley Raksu, after that fight, we went down weight divisions because Kenny has never, ever dropped weight like a real fighter up to that point. He just fought at what he was. After that Ashley Raksu fight, look what happened. He went into that tournament. He demolished Nate. He demolished Winderson. And then we took a gamble on the Anthony Taylor fight.
Anthony Taylor, yeah.
Let me point out this. My brother's problem was he didn't throw his hands. I think the occasion got to him. I have to admit, the occasion got to him, it being a prime event, and probably Anthony Taylor, he's been in with Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury couldn't knock him out. So all these things he had in his head, and he's still an influencer learning. So I think that was the problem with that fight. But that being said, Anthony Taylor did not hurt my brother one bit. Actually, in one point in the fight, he turned his back and ran away from my brother, you know, and hugged him for the whole fight. My brother has had the hardest fights. And I always said to people, I love Salt Papi. I think he's a good human being. I speak to him many times. I love his family and I love his skill set. But I think my brother's had the better preparation because of the level of opponents that has taught him. Even the losses has taught him. Whereas Salt Papi, you know, I don't understand it. I don't know if it's because he's a comedian and he does all this salt things and he does all the dancing and all that kind of stuff. So people like they warm to him. But come on, if you look at the opponents that he's faced, name one, Andy Warski, you know, and when he knocked out Andy Warski, everyone's like, wow, this is the face of the Misfits, you know. Everyone ranting and raving about him. I'm like, come on, man, this guy has never boxed before in his life. Soon as Salt Papi has had tough opposition, what has happened? Anthony Taylor, okay, it was a good fight, a close fight, but he lost. Slim, he got knocked out. And even the Ferrari guy, I bet any money that if that Ferrari took boxing serious, and more importantly, his conditioning, I honestly think he could have beat Salt Papi because Salt Papi didn't look comfortable in that fight whatsoever. Even though Salt Papi won, it showed a lot of holes in his game again against Ferrari. That's my opinion. I love Salt Papi. I love his skill set, but I just think my brother's had the better opposition. And if they were to fight, touch wood, that will be the difference. Kenny's starting to turn into an all-round fighter now. He doesn't spar. I don't know who all these influencers are sparring, but the way I've done it with Kenny is Kenny only spars high-level people now, whether it's pros or national champions, amateur champions. He's been sparring rounds and rounds with my pro fighter Martin Foru, who's 10-0. He's at that stage now where that's what he's doing. And I just think we're going to show something different in the next fight.
Let's talk about the man you mentioned earlier, Martin Foru. Mams Taylor said that he was supposed to face Idris Virgo in the pro tournament. What happened?
Oh, man, that was a freak accident. So it's Kenny's fault. So he was sparring Kenny. He hit Kenny's elbow and the knuckle went from here.
That's a bad one.
Yeah. It separated. It went from here back to here. Yeah, he was devastated, man. He was devastated. We didn't even tell Mams straight away for a few days because we were still trying to find a way to still fight, even if with one hand. Because
one arm tied back and the other one just lead hand.
That's how confident we were to win that tournament. Because the people in that tournament, Martin would have battered every single one of them. And that's on my kid's life. He would have beat every single one of them. And it wouldn't have been nice as well. It wouldn't have been pretty. It wouldn't even been close. You know,
I'm not sure. When you got Fez Batista in that tournament, I think he would have made a big challenge for Martin.
He was Martin's replacement, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I know for a fact, Idris, if you're watching this, I know for a fact when you found out Martin Foru wasn't in the tournament anymore, he was celebrating in his house by himself. Yeah, that Martin was not in the tournament. Because when I watched it in Newcastle as well, live, I was like, what the hell is this? This is easy. This would have been the easiest money that Martin's ever won in his whole life. He would have knocked out every single one of them. And we were looking forward to facing Idris because the public wanted Martin and Idris to fight. But yeah, now seeing Idris in that tournament, and no disrespect, I like Idris, man. No disrespect. But Martin will stop Idris. All I'm saying is, if that fight gets made, and then it just won't be in the scene anymore because Martin will wipe him out. I mean, didn't Thingy rock him or hurt him? Aaron Chalmers.
Oh, Aaron Chalmers did rock him in that fight in Newcastle last year.
Okay.
Yeah, you are correct by saying that.
If Aaron Chalmers is rocking Idris, and then Martin...
He's not rocking him.
It will be a massacre. But I know Martin's mentality as well. He won't want to knock him out straight away. If he's given five or 6 rounds, he won't knock him out straight away. He will want to beat him up. I know what Martin's like. He's very vicious when it comes to his mentality. He will want to beat him up in front of everyone and then take him out.
Do you have a timeline for maybe when Idris Virgo and Martin can go down, or if you could decide, when would that fight happen?
Oh, well, obviously his hand's got to heal. His hand had to be in a cast for 6 weeks, and then the rehab starts after that. So hopefully, in the new year, we can start, training for that fight if it just accepts it.
Well, Daley, it's a pleasure having you as always, but I want to give you the floor here, as you always do. Give us some inspirational words or any last exclusive to the fans watching at home here on Misfits News. Daley?
Not much, just stay true to who you are, be yourself, don't let anyone say you can't do it, be anybody, help others and be an inspiration to other people. And all I'm trying to do is just educate your scene. I'm not trying to say nobody knows or understands boxing, but from my world, I like to come into your world and just give my expertise and break down everything honestly. And be safe. That's all.
Thank you so much, Daley. I appreciate your time as always.
Thanks a lot, man.
It's great to have Daley Perales back on, and I love his analytic point of view on all of this scene. But some big confirmations there, Ben. Run me through what he just said.
Well, it seems like King Kenny and Sal Papi signed, sealed. That's what we're getting in November in Qatar. And I feel highly confident in stating that Deji's going to come back as well. I know that there's still rumors and circulation and nothing is confirmed, but I'd be willing to bet my life savings that Deji appears on that card.
I cannot wait to possibly see the return of another Olatunji in the boxing ring this year. However, something that I found quite interesting there, Ben. Daley didn't really rate Salt Papi that highly in comparison to other King Kenny opponents, which I can understand the thought process, but you got to admit, Salt Papi is one of the most dangerous oppositions in Misfits boxing.
I think he is, for sure. I respect Daley's stance, and obviously he backed it up with his own opinions and justifications for putting Salt Papi below, guys like Faye Sensei, guys like Taylor. It's logical from his perspective. But yeah, I think that talking about the Ferrari fight and saying that Amadeus only lost because, he gassed is maybe not contextualizing the fight the way that it played out. Why did he gas? Because he was swinging way too much? Sure, but Salt Papi also was tagging him. Salt Papi was working him and whittling him down. Did Salt get in the fire and get burnt a little bit? For sure. Did he get cut? It's a fucking fight, of course, right? And Ferrari was swinging hammers. Guess who ate them and didn't get knocked out? Salt Papi did. Persevered and got the win. I think it's a tough fight for King Kenny. This is a big step up. Like, if we were going to compare both fighters' last fights, Amadeus Ferrari and Adam Brooks, and I love Adam, come on, Ferrari's a significantly more dangerous guy, I would say, who has a lot more professional fighting experience. So there's ways to win on both sides. It'll be a great scrap. And truly, BL, I don't know who to pick.
I cannot wait to see how this Qatar card unfolds, because right now I'm hearing superstar after superstar matchups we've been waiting for so long, Ben.
I love it. Well, what an episode of Misfits News, bringing you the latest updates. So make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. As always, I've been your host, Ben the Bane Davis, joined by my co-host, BL, and we will see you guys next episode.